I gave my mom a band.
Okay.
Because I was like, hey, she went out there and got, I'm like, she went out there and found a deal for me. So I'm like, you know, the man of God gave me my payout. I got to give her.
hey, that's definitely the theme to this boy right here. The man of God. I'm like. What's going on, good people? Welcome to another episode of First Generation Wealth Builders, man. So I got my guy, Terone Johnson, in the building. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? Nothing much. Happy to be here. I appreciate you, having me on the show.
No doubt. This is our first interaction, first time meeting. I sounded like, social media.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I got to let the people know, though, that you are a partner of Amari.
Yeah. He been on the show.
Yeah. So that's how we got linked up, and it was only right that I have you on here.
I appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying? I got to get the other side of the story. You did?
Exactly.
But without further ado, man, introduce yourself to the people. Tell us about yourself.
Terone Johnson, like you said, from Indianapolis, grew up on the west side of Indianapolis, not too far actually from Amari. We never really even knew each other growing up, but we was right there, a couple streets over from each other. So, played basketball, most of my life. Ended up playing at Purdue University and overseas a couple years, and then after that, moved to LA where I live now. But my main thing is real estate. Jumped in the game about 3 years ago, and man, it's been taking off from there. So just trying to keep that up.
Dope. So before we get to that, man, like you say you from Indy, mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? West side, north side? Where?
West side.
Got you. They're the best side. You hear me? What was childhood like, bro?
It was tricky. It was up and down. You know what I mean? I was, telling you even before the podcast, one side of my family was like mostly in the streets. My pops, he was, out there. So, when I was around 8 years old, he went to jail, got 12 years on a, drug case. And pretty much at that point, my mom's told me, my pops told me, you the man of the house now. I'm 8 years old. You know what I mean? So I had two younger brothers, and I was the oldest one. So it's like now I got to kind of be that model, for my brothers. But from there, really I took off with basketball, to be completely honest. Like that was my first love. And that brought a lot of mentors as far as coaches into my life and stuff like that. But it was tricky, like I said, and the tricky part of it was, like I said, we went from having everything to having a little bit of nothing. You get what I'm saying? So, like I said, we lived in a neighborhood a couple doors down from Marshall Falk, and then next thing you know, once Pops got sent off, we ended up we back on 16th and Tibbs. You know what I mean? So it was like it was night and day.
But let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Sorry to interject. How do you think that that situation molded you to be the man that you are today?
It molded me well, man. Because one thing I will say is that even though my pops was where he was, like he always kind of said, use me as an example. You know what I mean? So, and my mom, I'm watching her work so hard, to even keep us fed, me and my three brothers, and just seeing him have it all and then it was gone like that, I was like, I don't want to end up in that situation. You get what I'm saying? I don't want to ever leave my family like that. And so that really was like the mold to me, like growing up, like, and then, like I said, coaches came into my life and stuff like that, where I'm like, oh, these dudes is positive figures and stuff like that. But, his homies and stuff was still around and told me all the stories and stuff like that. But it really molded me because I saw everything. Like I saw it all, really, to be completely honest. Parents don't think kids see stuff. You know what I mean? So when I was younger, I saw a lot of stuff that, don't really want to say over the mic, but I saw that stuff early on, and kind of, back again when I was older again, it's just like, I'm like, I can't go down that route. I can't go down that road. It ain't nothing there for me.
I'm going to tell you this, though, man. On this podcast, man, you can say whatever you want to, bro.
Okay.
This podcast for the people, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's somebody that's going through what you're going through or went through what you went going through. So the goal is to really like shed some light on the positive in it.
Yep.
To hopefully influence them to turn in a positive way as well too. You know
Most
what I mean? So
definitely.
you never know the impact you can have on somebody else.
Most definitely.
So all right. So you say you was hooping.
Yeah.
All right. So you went to North Central?
Yeah. So when I was in 8th grade, we moved out to Washington Township. My mom finally bought a house on a lease option.
There it is.
Yeah, she didn't have good credit or nothing like that, but she found a way, bought a house on a lease option.
So for those who don't know what a lease option is, could you please explain what a lease option is?
So it's really like some people call it a rent to own, but what happens is the owner turns into the bank. So in that situation, like if I own the property, free and clear, I can put a note down on that property and say, I'm selling to you for 100,000.
What's the note?
Say it's a 30-year note or something like that.
So when you're saying a 30-year note, you're talking about the duration of
the loan,
of the payments that you have to make.
Exactly.
And the only reason I know, but we have to make sure that we whoever's listening understands.
Most definitely.
So I got you. I'm sorry. Keep going though.
Yeah. So you want me to keep explaining the lease option? Okay.
Definitely.
So over 30 years, that might be amortized like a regular bank. It's just like a regular bank. So you paying payments per month. So she was probably, I don't know exactly what her payments was, but she was probably paying, $800 a month. That's interest and principal. And then what happens is over a period of time, she's able to either refinance out of that high interest loan. Because normally in a lease option, because they're letting you into a lease option, the reason why people actually get into lease options is because one, they don't have good credit. Two, they don't have enough savings in order to like qualify at a bank. So this person is giving you a chance to own a property by renting to own. So in her case, it was credit and it was savings. You know what I mean? But she had a good down payment. So that down payment went towards that 100,000. I don't know what she's really bought it for, but I'm just giving clear numbers. But that, say she put down 10,000 on that, now she's paying $1,000 a month towards that 30-year note. She ended up refinancing out, like 5 years into that, but and actually getting a real bank loan on it with a lower interest rate. But that's kind of where it started for her, and I didn't know that really until like 2-3 years ago.
But that's your first. That's you guys' first relationship to real estate.
Exactly. Yeah. So we moved out there, like I said, just to speed it up. We moved out there when I was in 8th grade, and then I ended up playing basketball. I was already kind of on the stage as far as like travel basketball. I was ranked in the country, stuff like that, even as a youngster. But when I moved over there, I played ball at North Central. My freshman year, I was behind Eric Gordon, so I wasn't getting no tick.
Got you.
But I actually tore my ACL coming into that year, so I played JV. And then I played, varsity coming off the bench, like end of the season into sectionals. And then, the next year, Coach Mitchell over there, he was like, which is one of my role models, man. He was like, this is going to be your team if you want it next year. You know what I mean? So that next year came out, first game, had like 25. I ended up averaging like 20 that season. So after that, all the colleges was on board. So after that, it was all the recruitment process.
What kind of colleges was recruiting you, bro?
Man, all over. I wish I had all the box of letters that used to come to the crib.
You ain't got them no more?
My mom got them.
Okay.
Storage somewhere or something like that.
You got to keep it in the archives.
She definitely got them. But, I mean, all the school. I mean, North Carolina, UCLA, Cincinnati, Purdue, IU. Most like bigger colleges was. For me, it was.
Why you choose Purdue?
To be completely honest, it was more of a comfortable decision for me. Like looking back on it, I wasn't thinking like how I would think now. Obviously, hindsight is 2020.
So what would you tell yourself? What would your today's self tell your old self?
When you getting into a situation, like you want to think about what they can do for you. And I know that sounds selfish, but a lot. Situations might have been like I wouldn't have been on such a good team coming in, but it would have been my team coming in, right? And and the way that I played basketball in high school, my system that I played in, which was like a faster paced system, stuff like that. I wasn't looking at that type of stuff. I was looking at, okay, it's right up the road. My mom and dad can come to the games. Well, not my dad yet, but my parent, my family can get up to the games in an hour like that. I was looking at, I knew a couple of the players that was already on the team. I had already played travel basketball with them and stuff like that. Super cool with a couple of them. And then I would be coming in and we ranked top 5 right off the bat. So I'm looking at that too. And then I had a chance to start. So I was like, I can come in, even if I don't really, be that man coming off the bat, I still can be on the floor, get that experience and stuff like that. So that's what I was looking at. But I don't look back on it that bad. But like sometimes I look back and I'm like, okay, when my son go to college, when he start to make his decision, which my dad was, my pops was, from the phone. This is a federal call from. but he would he was telling me no, not yet, because I committed very early, sophomore in high school. I committed, and then I'm more of a person like I'm all about loyalty. So other colleges was trying to, come in, steal me, stuff like that. Like, hey, we can give you this, we can give you that. They was writing him in jail, you know what I mean, stuff like that. Calling my mom, but the thing is that once I committed to something, I knew that I could do what I, needed to do, and then I wanted to chase that state championship, man, which I got in 2010.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. And so just from there, went to Purdue, did really well, made all conference 2 of the years, was MVP of our team for like two or three of the years, captain the team, always had leadership values, man. Like every time I played on the team, like I ended up being a captain somehow, some way, because I was forced to grow up a lot earlier. You know what I mean?
So how'd you you said you went overseas?
Yeah, so after Purdue, I did the whole draft camp thing, trying out all that stuff. Go? Not too well. Honestly, my agent didn't really give me that many workouts. I thought I should have got more and stuff like that, but I ended up going and playing in Greece.
Did you like it?
I loved it out there, to be honest.
How long were you out there?
I was out there for like a year and a half.
You didn't miss the crib?
I did, and I had just had my son. Okay. And so that was.
How old are you about this time? 22?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 22. Exactly.
So you were in Greece and you had a son here?
Exactly. He was born, so I'm about to actually get into that because that's one of the reasons that I kind of separated from the game was that when I was overseas, she had him, so I had to fly back here. And when I flew back, like we was about to go to the playoffs. Mind you, I'm the leading scorer. We go into the playoffs, and they was mad that I was leaving. And this was already in my contract that once my kid is born, they pay for the ticket back, all of that. They was fine with that. Said they was fine with it and everything, but they was mad.
It's different when it happens.
We're going into playoffs now, so now they like it's time to play. Like, and I wasn't gonna miss a game or nothing, but I was gonna miss a few practices. And so when I came back, they actually ended up like trading my contract for like another team in the league for like a domestic player because they can pay them less. Really is why they was doing it. The team that I was on wasn't like one of the top teams in the league or nothing like that. So when they did that team ended up releasing me. So technically I was still supposed to get paid while I was back home. But I don't know if you know how that overseas money worked. They paying late every month. So so you getting $10,000 a month. I mean, they might. By the time, there was a point out there where they was 2 months behind on my payments. $20-something thousand worth.
Why is that though? Just the system.
It's just it depends on what type of team organization that you with, because it's kind of like a lot of the teams out there, even over there, Greece, Italy, like some of them are owned by like mob bosses and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it's not like here in America where it's a little bit different, but so they will pay you, but like they paying us in cash too. Like it's not going direct deposit into an account. Like we got to take the cash and then we got to put it in the account. Then we got to transfer it back over to American dollars and all of that stuff. So, but I know people that have been out there, they sit out there for 6 months not paid. But I left, so I was already back. So technically they didn't have, they had to pay me. But since I'm not sitting there on top of them,
they're not rushed to pay you.
They're not rushed to pay me. So they paid me. They end up paying me another payment. They were supposed to pay me for the next 6 months, and they didn't pay me for the last 5 months while I was there. Right?
Oh wow!
But then that's what brought my introduction into real estate.
Got you. So real quick though, you had the shorty.
Yep.
you know what I mean, and you came and you never went back. That's what I'm understanding.
Never went back. Never
All
went
right,
back.
so what do you do? Like, what do you do? You got a shorty, a late paycheck,
right.
Like what do you do?
Exactly. So I had some. I never spent any of my money when I was over there. So
Got you.
I mean, I wasn't buying nothing. So I saved up a good amount. The problem was that I was planning on going back. So I was working out and stuff to go back. I wasn't getting a job when I came back or nothing like that. My wife ended up, like, she was finishing up nursing school. So I sat out there with the baby while she was.
Man, you skipped that. You're going too fast. Hold on. Hold on. So when you get married?
I got married like 3 years ago, almost now.
So wait a minute though. Hold on. You just said wife.
Yeah.
My chronological order is off. You had a baby.
Yeah.
Are you married when you had a baby?
No, we wasn't married. I'm married to her, but we wasn't married.
I understand now. You call her wife, but okay. I was like, man, he got married in between. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I was like, I missed something.
Let me take that back. Nah.
I was like, man, a lot happened over here. Like, all right, so let's go back.
Right.
You had a child. You came to the crib. I understand you weren't getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
So now what are you doing for work? You say that's
I'm just working out, getting ready to go back overseas. I'm working with my agent. They trying to find me new contracts. The contracts is coming in and they too short for me. Like, I'm like, I can make that just working here, using my degree. You know what I mean? So I'm like, they like, but you.
What was your degree in?
Organizational leadership and supervision, which is general whatever, really.
Understood.
And we can talk about that whole college thing later, but I don't think it's worth it sometimes.
But you had a free education.
But I had a free education. I would be mad if I paid for my education.
So, I will say something now that we're here, so we don't even have to go back. We can just tap into it. One thing I, was telling Ziggy and some people about is this though. So when it comes to college, yes, it's very expensive. You're paying a high cost for old methods, theories, and concepts, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think that college teaches some things that we don't really consider. And that's commitment. You got to commit for 4 years.
Yep.
You got to be disciplined.
Yep.
You got to research. You know what I'm saying? So like those type of things are necessary skill sets or things that we need to have within our ecosystem as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of entrepreneurs today don't got because we're impatient. You're used to instant gratification.
Yeah,
we're looking at Instagram like it could happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
So I say if you could go get college paid for at no cost, as I have two daughters. I have 2 daughters out there. If it could be free, go. Because they're going to teach you things I can't teach you.
Absolutely.
Because when you come in here, I need you to have the research skills.
And I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that, not to cut you off.
You good.
But for me, it's like people that's going and paying for college, like go and do something that's like, if you are going to, I'm not saying college is worthless. If you're going to college, go specialize in something that you know that you're going to do when you get out. When I got out of college, I'm like, oh, I got this nice Purdue degree, but I'm like, I don't know what this degree actually tells me to do. What do I go do? No, we never learned that. You get what I'm saying? On campus. Like you said, I learned all of that though. Like I had that even when I partnered with Omari, is like the organization, using Excel, using, systems, all that type of stuff. Like that's what it really trained me for. But I wasn't learning anything about what I'm doing now, obviously. Gotcha. But I do agree with that. But I just say if you're going to pay for college, even if you're getting college for free, if it's something that you want to specialize in, nursing, lawyer, engineering, architecture, whatever it is, like specialize in that. Because now I got friends that was engineers that went to school to be an engineer when they was there. They doing well, love their job, all of that. Gotcha. You know what I mean? So, but then I would be pissed if I paid for my college experience. Not the fun, but
I get it.
But the fact that I would get out, okay, now this job, because we didn't finish my story, but like because I started working, I'm like, I'm making like 45,000. Like, I didn't think I was like, that's nothing right now. Like, it's barely getting me by out here in LA. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, and that's a Purdue degree. Like that was 4 years. If I paid for that, I would be mad right now.
So question to you, like you come back, you just said LA. Were you here or LA?
I gotta kind of tap you in. So when I came back, like I said, my wife was still she was going to nursing school, so she had about 6 months left of nursing school. So I'm staying at the crib with our baby, our son, while she finishing her clinicals, all that stuff. But we in Vegas, so she was finishing up school in Vegas. So we back and forth from LA to Vegas. We had chill with her parents. We stayed with some of my family out there in Vegas. I mean, we was literally laying on couches, like sleeping on the ground. I rented out a 1 month spot, where every time you get in the bed crackling, you like, damn, the baby back up again. But man, because we look back on that, man, we like, man, we was down bad. It was a bad time. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have a job, none of that stuff.
So what's the first job? Like, what are you doing for money?
So after that, we moved back to Indiana, right?
Why?
So when I was overseas, my pops went back to jail. Same thing. We got our relationship back. Same thing, went back to jail. He got sentenced to 5 years. So I just didn't feel comfortable with my family being here by themselves. And there was a lot of riffraff going on in the streets. This wasn't paid off, this wasn't that. And I hadn't never spoke to my dad yet. So I talk about it all the time because like my buddy, one of my best friends, like he was at the crib when they raided the crib, like all that. They put him in handcuffs. I'm like, he ain't got nothing to do with the streets. He don't know what the hell. You know what I mean? Like, but he ain't never even said nothing about it. He was thrown on the ground, handcuffs, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
How you feel about that?
About him going back?
Mm-hmm.
It broke my heart, low key, because that was my role model. Like for real, you know what I mean? So, and there was one time where we was having a birthday party. And I asked him, I was like, "Can you not leave us?" And he, I promise, never. And redid it. You know what I mean? So, and since we was used to just how it felt, everything just went as normal, and we loved him. So, it was like, we still held it down. My mom's held it down. We at the crib. We doing whatever we need to do to, lawyer-wise, all that stuff. But that's why I moved back to Indianapolis, though, is because it was a time that it was just like, I damn near felt like I needed to be there. Like, I don't know what I was going to do, or whatever. If stuff popped off, whatever it was, but I was going to be there. Like, I wasn't going to let it happen.
Wifey was with it.
Wifey was with it, right.
I love it. Now, something, just to tap into that, man, so I never met my father.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? Like, my mom would try to introduce us like when I was like 17, 18.
Oh, for real?
You know what I'm saying? But I'm just like, I ain't got to lift the weights. I'm the man on the track. I'm thinking like, man, I don't need no dude for nothing. Like, we good.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's normal. This is like, you've done, I'm good here. You know what I'm saying? We good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think though, as I've matured, I think that's a lot of reason why I am the parent that I am today, because I had that gap, and
I agree with that,
and I know how I feel. I don't talk about it much, but that's why I asked you that.
Yeah,
so just like I just wanted to say that, to then ask you, how do you feel like that affects like how do you feel like that impact the way you are today with your family?
Huge.
Can you talk about how?
I never think about that like all the time.
What do you think about it when you think about it?
Like, for me, it's like, I'd be sure that like those moments where I felt like the lowest because my pops wasn't there, or when we had to hide it because we was playing on these, AAU teams with all the rich, white people that we was around and stuff like that. Like, we used to have to hide it. Like, they used to be like, where your dad at? Whatever. And I'm, what I mean? I'm like, I forget what we used to say, but I'm like, oh, he couldn't come, you know what I mean, or whatever, stuff like that. Like, I make sure I'm at every game. I'm at every practice. I'm at every game. Like, I was mad I couldn't go to his training yesterday because I'm out of town. You know what I mean? Like, school nights, son and dad nights, stuff like that. Like, it was non-existent. You know what I mean? Like, I always had to go. Or some, one of his buddies would try to, hey man, I go to it, run up to my mom, stuff like that, so that they got somebody. But it didn't never feel the same. But honestly, man, I don't know how, but when I was a kid, I used to just like wash it out. Like, it really wasn't that big of a deal to me after a while. You know what I mean? Now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, damn, that was kind of messed up that I was there like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I
looking back
understand.
on it now, because I'm like, I would never like my son. I'm like, no way. So,
Gotcha.
but that's why I am the way I am. Like with my father and stuff like that. Like I be sure that he's super inquisitive. Make sure you ask him questions, stuff like that. I answer him. I ain't saying get out of grown folks' business. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I let him, ask me important
You
questions and
empowering
stuff
them.
like that. Exactly.
Got you.
Exactly.
All right, so let's speed up, man. So let's talk about real estate. Where did real estate come into the picture for you?
So for me, when I was overseas, I was bored. I had a little money saved up. I started researching. Sorry about that.
Are you good?
I started researching to see exactly what I wanted to put my money into. I never was a fan of stocks and stuff like that, even when they taught us about it in college and stuff. So I actually was on World Star and saw Young Jeezy give what's his name, Jay Morrison,
Got you.
gave him like a grant for like a real estate school or something like that. I bought into it just so I can start like looking at some stuff. I started looking at a little bit of the stuff. Then he kind of had like a street story that was kind of like my pop, where he not as much, but like I'm like he went from the streets and he doing this. Get what I'm saying? So it resonated with me a little bit. So I'm like, let me pay some more attention to that. So that was kind of like my introduction into like wholesale stuff like that. But
About what time is this?
this is when I'm like 22. I'm still overseas.
Got you.
And so
What year or so are we talking now?
oh, this is 2015.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So when I get back in 2016, that year when I told you I came back from my son and we moved back to Indiana, my mom was actually trying to start a business or whatever, like a coffin business is what it was. And so her and my dad, before he had got locked up, they had started another lease option on a property, right? And they was paying a $500 a month payment, right? And so when I got back, they was like, the payment is behind like 3 payments, but we can do something with this. Like we can just flip it or something, like actually do the work. I'm like, I got the money to put into it. Let's do it. So I sped it up, you know what I mean? Got the payments right. Got us a contractor. We started doing work on it, all of that.
Before you go. So how'd you get your contractor?
It was my I call him my uncle, but it was one of my best friends' dad.
Did it work out?
He did well.
Okay.
He did well. He actually did real well.
Okay. Do you still use him?
No, I don't.
Okay,
but he went into bigger stuff. He
gotcha.
started getting contracts, so he started working like for a company, like instead of like.
And I was just curious, you know what I'm saying? But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I got him just off the strength. I knew he did that, right? So I just tapped in with him. Was like, what can you do? He definitely did it for me for super cheap, just because, just GP,
just love.
Yeah, just off of love. So, so he did. He started it. We got the bathrooms done. We got the flooring done. We getting the outside, the ramp. It was like a handicap ramp that was outside. We got that all taken care of. So then when we ready to get close to list, I'm starting to talk to realtors. They like, this property is you don't own this property or whatever. I'm like, no, we have it on lease option, but we can still sell it. They're like, you might want to check that contract. I never saw the contract. So the contract was due the next month after I checked it, which was $18,000 payout. I didn't have that. I just got it fixed with like $10,000 plus the $1,500 in payments that I caught up. So I'm like, I don't got to pay off. We got to sell it now. Look in the contract, you cannot sell this home unless the owner approves of it.
Because it's on the deed.
It's on the deed. So we have to go through her. She like, no, it's due next month.
Wait a minute. So let me rewind. Let me rewind. Just for the context of this. Yeah. So what you're telling me is that you rehabbed a property that you didn't have the right to sell, and you owed $18,000.
Yep.
When you tried to sell it, the owner stated you could not sell it.
You're not gonna sell it because she has to approve of it in their contract.
What happens next?
I lose all my money. It was due. She foreclosed on it.
So when you say she foreclosed, basically she said that you didn't buy this home within the time to purchase the home. Therefore, she has the right to regain the property.
Exactly. Which now we do. You know what I mean? It's crazy how it turns, but
Hold on, you
now
said
I
we do.
understand her. I understand her now. I understand where she was coming from because they've been purchasing this property for the last 3 years. It's due now. That was what the contractual agreement is. So all this coming back in sob story, she not hearing it.
So all right. So so she forecloses on her property.
Yep.
You have to leave. Or
Yeah.
What happens?
I wasn't living there. I was just flipping it. You know what I mean? So
the property goes.
I lost all that money.
What is your next move?
That was my last 10 bands.
What do you do now?
I'm at the crib. I started working. My buddy got me a job out here working with underprivileged kids.
Okay.
Like just kids that, you know, they juvenile system, then sent them to a home and all of that type of stuff. So I'm mentoring them kids. Meanwhile, I'm trying to get my mind right.
I was going to say, mentally, I'd be messed up.
And then in the meantime, my wife, because she needed to go take her nursing test, she moved back to Cali. She like, this a little bit too much for me. Like, I ain't gonna even be able to study because so much is going on right now with my family, all this stuff. So I'm like, I had to respect that though. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, it hurt me bad because I never wanted to be away from my son. So I'm like, give me some time. I'm gonna save some money up. I'm gonna move out there. Right? So
she leaves.
She leaves.
She got family out there.
Yeah, that's what she's from there. She's Hispanic too. She's from out there. Okay. So she go back there. I'm here just working. I'm working out at the same time, trying to get back on the basketball circuit, whatever. Contracts just not going through. Like, it's just bad contracts every time. So I'm like, man, I'm about to have to figure something out. So that was my first introduction into real estate, was an L. But this is what I took from it. Because I know that's probably what you might have been about to ask me that. What I took from it was, if I knew what that contract was coming in, there was a chance for me, if we would have sold it, I would have made like $45,000 on that. It was a great deal. You get what I'm saying? So I looked at it, I'm like, if I wasn't dealing, I was talking to my parents at the time, they had so much stuff going on. I'm like, if I wasn't dealing with these fools and put me in this bad contract, then I would have did well, because if I'd have known when it was, closing, whatever, I could have easily had him finish that earlier and we just put it on the market. It sold. I made my 45. We paid her off. It was done. Or I would have saw that it says that you can't sell it. So I would have asked her ahead of time or something. You get what I'm saying? But I knew that I was like, there was a potential for me to make like 40 bands on that. So what happened was, when I was working my job, and I obviously didn't want to stay there. Everybody knew I wasn't going to stay there. And then I moved out there, got my tax check, moved out to Cali with 5 bands in my pocket.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
I said, I got to get out the environment. I had people, streets wise, all that, they offering me this, we got you over here, what you want to do? Then basketball, I'm like, I don't know what that's going to do. So I had to get out of here. I had to go somewhere where I could just think about something else. Like, to be honest, because it was just all just commotion everywhere. Don't know what's what.
So then you get to Cali. Did you have something set up? Or,
Nothing. So we stayed with my wife's parents. She started working, so now she a nurse. She getting to it.
Okay.
So now so
it's a little income coming in.
Yeah, it's some income coming in. And so, but I'm right away, I'm like, I can't sit around and watch her make money and then I'm not doing that. So right away when I get there, I'm applying to everything. Gotcha. Like back to back to back, you know what I mean? So I dipped a little bit with the weed stuff and all that stuff for a little bit, and just wasn't working out the way I thought it was gonna work out. And I'm like, why am I doing that anyway? You know what I mean? So I ended up getting a job probably like a month after I was there. I applied to at least over 100-something places. This job ended up hiring me, knew where Purdue was like, oh, that's a great school. You know what I mean? So hired me, and then I was working there. Like I said, I'm making like $40,000 a year at the time.
Cali, that's like minimum wage.
You get what I'm saying? 40,000. So I'm like, but it was keeping us afloat. We didn't have so we moved out of her parents' house. So me and her dad started fixing up his rental property that he had down there. So I was helping him. He can really just build a whole house, really, from his hands, to be honest. And so he was showing me, how to do stuff. And he was like, T, grab this, do that. I'm in there painting at nighttime. We ended up fixing the house up. He's like, y'all can stay here. You know what I mean? But y'all got to pay me rent, obviously. So we're like, cool. I'm like, we can do that. So we ended up, paying him rent. I got end up getting a raise at my job about a year after that. So we was smooth selling, but then that's when I was like, about this time, probably making like 50. I'm thinking that's a cool raise.
Question to you. So what time frame are we talking now?
So now we talking like 2016.
Okay.
Maybe even 2017. Okay. Yeah. So then what happened was I don't know what, bro. Oh, okay. So I was at work. I was like, man, this is so boring. I used to pop on podcasts all the time. So I started listening to podcasts. Somehow I came across a real estate podcast, and I can't remember the dude's name. I can't remember his name right now. But I started listening to his podcast, and he talking about wholesaling. And I'm like, man, what's this? So I'm listening to it every day to the point where I'm getting home, they going to sleep, and I'm up with the headphone in my ear. Like my wife, Pops, my father-in-law, he said all the time, he's like, man, T used to be sitting there with that notebook with his headphones, and he was like, he's gonna do something.
Student of the game.
He's gonna do something. He's really gonna do this because he wanted to do this. He wanted to do real estate.
Gotcha.
Early on, right? So he's really gonna do it, right? So I started studying it, and then I did my first deal. I found a property. Man, it was crazy. But I don't. What did I send out marketing? My mom. I asked her, when you see houses, stuff like that that's beat up, send me the address, like ride around your neighborhood, whatever.
So she's here.
She's here in Knapsdale, yeah.
At this time. So she sends you a deal from Indianapolis.
She sent me a deal. She was right there by where he was saying we live now, like where she, where now it's a rental property, but right over there, Washington Township, like off of Grandview.
Got you.
Right?
Oh, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so she found one right on Grandview, just a beat up house, tore up. So I don't even know how I researched who the owner was, probably through the tax assessor. And then I said, let me search the dude's name on Facebook. He live in Fort Wayne, right? So I'm like, hey, bro, I see we got a mutual friend from the job that I was working at here in that. So I'm like, let me hit up him. He like, yeah, I know him. That's my dude. I can put you in contact. I got his number. So I hit him up. I was like, what type of, what would you want for this house or whatever? He like, man, that house so tore up. I was left that house, 10 years ago, whatever. And I'm like, what if I can buy it cash? I'm literally on a break right now at work, like a 15-minute break, walking. He like, I mean, if you want to buy it cash, it's tore up. I'm telling you that right now. He's like, but I mean, if you can give me about $30,000 for it, then I'll do it. I was like, okay, let me check on that. So then I hit up, I started looking for people that's doing real estate in the city.
So real quick, you don't have the money.
I don't have the money at all.
Okay.
I didn't have the money at all, but I was listening to those wholesaling podcasts, and I knew that, like, okay, if I find a good deal,
you can find the money.
I can find the money. Exactly. So that was what I was getting from the podcast. And I didn't put it under contract or nothing yet, but I was like, I can pay that probably $30,000. Let me check into it.
So what'd you do next?
I started searching people in the city, like who doing real estate online. Facebook, podcasts. I ran into Brett Snodgrass in them podcasts. And so I searched him on Facebook. I'm checking out his personality, his character now, because I hear that people run off with deals, all that stuff. I noticed he used to play basketball. I noticed that he was a man of God. So I was like, if he screwed me over, then this.
That boy said God don't like ugly.
Hey, God don't like ugly. So I'm like, if he screwed me over, then I'm not supposed to be in this business.
Hey, I'm gonna start using that on every sales pitch I use. Well, I'm a man of God, so I think that you should trust me with your $200,000. I promise I'll bring it back. I'm a man of God.
Man, so I'm like,
all right.
But I hit him up. I'm like, I got this property. I'm just now getting into wholesaling. He hits me back up like right away. And he like, yeah. He was like, what's the address? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, what can you get it for? I'm like, I can get it for $30,000 right now. He was like, let's put it under contract. That's a good deal, and I'll tell you why. So I put it under contract. He sent me the contract to send to him.
Where'd you get the contract from?
Him.
He gave you the contract?
He gave me a blank contract. He was like, this is the one-page contract that we use. He really put me on game. Like, he was like, I can help you out with this. We can partner on it. Like, whatever the profits are, we can split it 50-50. I'm like, why dude being so nice to me? But again, he was a man of God.
Hey, this podcast is going to be called he's the man of God. Like that's it.
Hey man, for real. Hey, you gotta search people's characteristics though. You know what I mean?
Man, I'm full of shit. Yeah, I hope you believe that shit I put out online too, though, bro. All right, sorry. Let's. So he gives you the contract. I think that before we go too far, there's a powerful piece there.
Mm-hmm.
There is power in finding the deals. That is the key to real estate.
Definitely. That's gave us everything that we have today. Every
the ability
step that we went forward is because people messing with us because they know we can find deals and we trustworthy people.
And believe it or not, man, I tell people that all the time. Like, no matter what aspect of real estate that you do, finding the deals is number one key to real estate because that employs everybody. First of all, that creates opportunity and that generates money.
Generates money.
So you didn't have no money.
No money. Credit was for something.
Found a deal and found a guy that gave you a contract, split the deal with you. Now, what did you guys do with the property?
He was like, I got a buyer on it. Like the next day, he was like, I already have a buyer on it. He'll buy it for $43,000. So I was like, so what does that mean? Like, what do I make on it? You know, whatever. He was like, it's gonna be some closing costs in there and stuff, but because they didn't do assignments, they do double closes. And for everybody, if you want me to break that down, a double close is on one side. A double close is that you actually they don't do a double close. They actually close it, like pay their money, close with their money, and then they resell it. And so what that is you actually close on the deal. So you're paying your $30,000. You're paying that plus closing costs. So that might be $31,000, let's say, for instance. And then you sell it for $43,000. That buyer's coming in paying the closing costs on that side. So it was about $500 or so in closing costs or something like that we ended up inheriting. But if you do an assignment, which is you can assign your rights to the contract on the A side of it, which is me and the seller. You can assign that contract to the B side of it, which is me and the buyer. If we do that, we just connect the two. There's these closing costs that this buyer pays is covered on the front end, and we just take home whatever which was on that would have been $13,000. It came out to like $12,000.
Why? Can you tell the people why you do double closings though?
So for a double closing, a lot of the times, it's a few different reasons. If you don't trust the buyers, you haven't done deals with them in the past. Some people in this business, they actually get bothered by you making so much money in between. That would be one reason. And that means that, like, for instance, we did deals where we made $40,000 on a wholesale deal, right? So if we haven't did work with this dude, he like, wow, they taking all that equity out of the deal. Now that we get down to the closing table, he like, nah, I need it to be at $80,000, which is $20,000 less. You know what I mean? Because I see y'all making this. They cool with 20. He in your pockets.
Got you. So what I hear from you is that you're protecting your equity, meaning your commission in the deal, by disguising it.
Exactly.
Meaning that when you do a assignment of contract, it's visible.
Everybody can see it.
The commission that's going to be made.
Yeah.
Now, when you do a double closing, they technically can't see it unless they go research.
Unless they go back into it after the after the closing.
Gotcha.
Which I'm cool with that. Like if you want to do that and then you don't want
What do you practice in your business?
We did mostly assignments. We're not doing a lot of wholesaling no more, but we did mostly almost all assignments.
Gotcha.
Because we built relationships with our buyers, so they know that it's like a Walmart. They keep coming back. You know what I mean? We still giving them good deals no matter what we make. They see that sometimes we made $2,000. They see that sometimes we might make $20,000. And we let them know that up front. So if you let your buyers know what you're doing up front and you're not trying to be sneaky about the situation, you know. But now say this dude came in and offered me something and we was gonna make $50,000, which we did before. We don't know this guy. This is the first time we dealing with him. We don't know if he's going to be cool with that. So we have done double closings in those instances, right? Where we like, okay, we just close it on one end. But with a double close, it all closed in the same day still. You know what I mean? It's not like how we did it on that first deal where they closed it with their money and then a week later, the buyer came in and closed with his money.
Understood.
Right? So, but yeah, just to get back to the deal, we ended up making $12,000 on that. I got 6 of that. That was my cut. And from there, I was like, what? 6,000 I just made? That was over like 14 days, right? So I'm like, I'm making 40-something thousand a year. I just made 6,000 like in 14 days. So I'm like, okay.
From finding deals.
From finding a deal, right? So I'm telling my mom, I need you to start driving. And I gave my mom a band.
Okay.
Because I was like, hey, she went out there and got, I'm like, she went out there and found a deal for me. So I'm like, you know, the man of God gave me my payout. I got to give her.
Hey, that's definitely the theme to this boy right here, the man of God.
I'm like, I can't let her go. But no, so she started looking for more and more properties for me at the time. And then that's when I was listening to the podcast and stuff. I saw the people was doing direct mail marketing. They would pull a list. They would do. So I'm following the podcast at this point. I'm going. I pull a list. I think it was the tax delinquent list.
Where are you getting it from?
Where was I getting it from at the time? It was like the county's website.
Gotcha.
Had it on there.
Where do you get lists from today?
We actually use PropStream.
Okay.
Which is like it's like a research system. You can actually use it for pulling comps on properties. It's not as accurate as an MLS, but it is pretty accurate for people that don't have MLS access. But we use PropStream today. Like years ago, we was using ListSource, batch leads we've used before too to pull lists. But most of our stuff.
But your favorite one is PropStream?
Right now, yeah.
Gotcha.
Right now, yep. And so they have different type of lists on there. I mean, real niche lists, bankruptcies, code violations and stuff like that. So my first ones that I was pulling back then on the county website was tax delinquents and code violations. So my wife's brother worked at the mail shop out in Cali. So I was like, you think I can print off like, so I found some yellow paper and I'm like, how can you put this font so it looked like I wrote it in red pen? He like, I can kind of mess around with it. It probably was ugly as hell, but it worked. Like, so I'm in there literally. So now my girl, my wife, her dad, seeing me lick papers, put them in envelopes. I've got a stack of envelopes. For Christmas, I asked for stacks of envelopes. You know what I mean?
Like, so to bring it to context though, what you're saying is you would pull the list.
Yep.
You would get that list and you would get names, address, and information. And the letters that you're talking about are letters that you're actually going to propose to others to buy their home.
Exactly. So I'm pulling these addresses. They have their names with them because I'm getting them from the tax assessor site. So it shows the names of the owners. And I'm telling them, hey, my name is Terone Johnson. I'm with, at the time, I was saying Truth Property Investments. You know, I'm interested in buying your home at 123 Main Street. Give me a call when you get a chance. Something like that. I don't even remember what they were saying at the time. But yeah, something like that. So these are people that, like I said, the property's already listed as tax delinquent, code violations on them. So
what was your return on investment in something like that?
So I'm about to actually, so the first round, I just kept taking L's early on. The first round that I sent out, what I noticed is that I didn't put my number on the paper.
Oh.
So I licked all those envelopes, sent out 1,500 of them, and none of them had my number on them.
So they didn't know how to contact you back.
They didn't know how to contact me.
Was there a website or an email?
There wasn't nothing on there but my name. So I took an L on that one.
So hold on, he was watching the wrong podcast.
Right.
So you're actually watching the right podcast. Because here we're telling you what not to do, baby.
Exactly. Don't do that. Do not do that, man. So yeah, I did that. And then I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
How'd you catch that?
Because one of them came back, a couple of them came back, return to sender. Exactly. So it came back and I just happened to open it up one day. I'm like, man, let me see. And I start opening up all of them. I'm like, man, my number is on none of these. That's why I'm not getting no calls. And so I redid them. Same thing. He wasn't charging me much at all. My wife's brother.
But the stamps add up, though.
The stamps add up. The envelopes add up. I'm sitting there literally licking them, like, and putting them closed. So I sent that out, 1,500 again, and got a deal. I got a dude that came back, and I can't even remember what it was. I know I made 10,000 on it though. I do know that. I can't remember exactly what the numbers was on that one.
And this is in Cali or here?
This is here. I'm sending these here to Indianapolis.
Gotcha. How come you didn't do it in Cali?
I was already being told about how competitive it was out there, and like, okay, you sending out 1,500, you're gonna have to send out 50,000 in California. You know what I mean? Because the competition level is crazy. Um, competition don't scare me today, but back
Why?
then,
Why?
because I know that like you can partner with people. Who's to say that he can get it? Who's to say that that guy is better than you? You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm a closer just as good as any of these dudes out here. Is how I feel now, right? But at the time, I didn't have no knowledge about real estate. I didn't know. I couldn't speak on the phone really that good about real estate. So it
What
was
helped you to become a better closer? What you think?
cold.
So let me rephrase the question. What do you think installed the confidence in you to be as confident as you are today to close deals?
For me, it was I'm a big time, like I said, podcast, YouTube guy. So I was doing more and more research on that part of it. Like when I'm on the phone, what do I say? Do I use a script? Do I, what are the trigger words that I use to kind of get stuff answered without like saying, okay, how much do you own your mortgage? Yeah. What? Click up. You know what I mean? It's more like, okay, um, is there anything owed against the home? That's two totally different questions that get two totally different responses. So I started studying stuff like that, and then we started actually once I got with Omari, we started actually cold calling instead of doing direct mail. And so on cold calls, I mean, as soon as you're on the phone, you got to start talking. I mean, so just repetition, repetition, and then just starting to see it work. The stuff that I was using, it was working. I'm like, dang. So now I'm like, now I know the market too. I'm like, I already knew my city, but I'm like, now I know. Like, oh yeah, yeah, we just did a deal like two streets over. I know I can purchase this for this. What do you think? Like, because I started to know the market more, but I'm researching this, and it's not just by repetition. You got to be doing your research in the background too. It's like start learning what stuff is worth. Start learning different parts of the city. Start learning that this part of the city is block to block. You might be on this block, you might pay 50,000. You go 2 blocks over, it might be 350,000. You know what I mean for something. So start to do your research because that's something that's huge that people don't do. They just get in it and start working and working and working, but they not actually learning it at the same time. You know
Got
what
you.
I mean? So
Got
that's
you.
what gave me the confidence.
All right. So, um, like I know that you got a partner. How did that partnership come about?
So I was working. I had another partner before. It didn't end up working out.
Why?
He just wanted to go on to something different. That's all it
Okay.
really was. We did some deals and stuff together, but he just wanted to end up going on to something different. And that's my homie today still.
Cool.
It didn't nothing that went down bad or nothing like that. But then after that, I was like, I don't really know if I want a partner, like, because I could have been making all this money by myself. Really, the whole time I was thinking like that, right? And so I started doing a couple by myself. But then I had a deal. I sent it out. Omari reached out to me, and he was like, "Man, I got a buyer, I think, for this deal." And I was like, "If you got a buyer, same thing that Brett did with me, years ago." I was like, "If you got a buyer, we can go 50-50 on it." And so he bought the buyer. They closed on it in like 3 days. Some random buyer out of Colorado. And then I'm like, this dude down there got some hustle to him. Like, so then we started really talking. We did another deal and another deal where we did it like that. It might have been flip flop. Like I brought the buyer, he had the seller, right? So then I'm like, dude, cool. Like, and then we started really asking each other, what you trying to do in this game and stuff like that. So, he was telling me, man, I'm trying to do it all. I'm trying to take it all the way there. Like I'm trying to own property. I'm trying to go into multifamily. Well, no, I told him I'm trying to go into multifamily at some point. I want the cash flow, the legacy part of it. He like, me too, bro. He like, so we end up knowing the same people but didn't know each other. It's what's crazy. You know what I mean? So it happened so genuine. It wasn't like we was just like, all right, let's just partner up. So the beginning of 2019, we said, we need to make a decision. Like, do we want to be partners or not? And I'm like, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? Like, let's do it. And then he's like, all right, we kind of aligned our values up. We like, what do you really want out of this? Kind of, what do you want the company to be? I know one thing for us.
Before you go, my bad.
Go ahead.
I think you was about to go there. I want to know about your values.
Yeah.
Like what because like somebody listening to this, like, it's important for them to understand what's important to you,
right,
and how you guys went about it, because some of us don't know how to even go about doing
exactly. Since we worked on a couple deals together, I saw that he wasn't like trying to run off with money, that type of stuff, at least early on. And so that was one big thing for me, just knowing the street life, knowing all of that, I done got ran off on all that type of stuff before. So that was one thing for me up front. But I think core values that we both rambled off, we wrote them down and then we brought them to each other.
Got you.
And we had like 3 or 4 that was the same, which was integrity was definitely one. Transparency was another one. What was the other one, man? Brutal honesty. So that was one that we was like, people really don't really put that stuff on there. I don't think we both said brutal honesty, that word, but that was whatever the other word was. But it's like, that means like, bro, tell me about me. Like, don't sugarcoat nothing with me. Like, if you feel like, accountability is, I think that's what I actually used. And he was like, brutal honesty. I'm like, that's pretty much the same thing. Like, hold me accountable. Like, bro, if you think I'm slacking, because when we put this together, we going to go. You're going to be on the seller side, I'm going to be on the buyer side.
All right, hold on. I got to tell you about yourself now. Mm-hmm. You didn't stick to your code.
Of what?
Because he wasn't the man of God.
Ah!
He wasn't the man of God. How you dealing with a dude that ain't the man of God, bro?
I think it was God telling me.
I had to, though.
He all right.
I had to.
Hey, that's hilarious, man.
Since we theming it out, you know what I'm saying? I had to.
Hey, that's hilarious, man. But yeah, so those core values end up sticking to us, and like that's literally what grew us to what we are now. Like, it's what's crazy is because in anything that we do, everything is transparent. Everything is brutal honesty. If you feel like I'm slacking, or you be like, damn, T, like, I need you to, bro, I need you. Like, I can't, because he's here on ground, obviously, and I'm not. So,
I was going to ask you about that. What are your roles in the company now?
So when we first started wholesaling, we got into a wholesaling program. Really helped us springboard.
What wholesaling program was that?
TTP.
Got you. Talk to people.
Talk to people. Exactly. With Brent Daniels. That's our guy to today. He actually investing with us and stuff like that today now. So big ups to him. But we got into his program, which was a cold calling program. So instead of sending letters out now, y'all, we actually calling people. Like, so we on offense now. We not waiting for people to call us off of our letters. Now I'm on offense. So I'm hitting you, and you might just be chilling at home, and I'm like, do you want to sell your house? In a scripted way, right? And so they provided scripts, they provided trainings per week, all that stuff. So what happened was we really dove into it. Like, they was like, it's a staggered release. So, we release something every week. We like, nah, we need it all, like, right now. And we ran through the course like in a week. And then we started really like, he started being on the phones for 3 hours a day. I'm still working the job. Yeah, I'm still working the job. So I can't be on the phones until the weekends. So he's on the phone 3 hours a day. We making sure that, 3 hours a day calling. And then I'm on there Saturday and Sunday calling 3 hours a day, right? So we picking up deals to a point where we getting like maybe 2-3 deals a month at this point. Like
how many calls are you making in 3 hours?
Man, so we use what is called a dialer, a multi-line dialer, and what that means is like it's calling 3 different people at once.
Gotcha. You don't do the 1-to-1. You do the three dialer.
Yeah, we did.
So 1-to-1 means it's calling one person at a time.
Yeah.
The multi-dialer is calling 3 people at one time.
Exactly.
So why do you do that versus the 1-to-1?
It takes more time. The 1-to-1, like, you're calling them, and then you have to, if they don't pick up, they voicemail pick up, and then you got to leave a voicemail or hang up.
What if 2 people pick up at the same time?
On a 3-line, it hangs them up. It hangs one of them up. So, yeah, see that is a caveat to it. But it don't hang them up. But you can see in your system though, right, that they picked up. So you can stop the dialer and call them back.
Gotcha. So
which is what I would do.
So I'm familiar with Mojo. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
Because low key, that's the heartbeat. That's the engine to your business.
Yeah. And actually, we actually moved from Mojo to ZenCall. I don't know if you ever used that.
I haven't. What's ZenCall, bro?
ZenCall is a multi-line dialer as well. It's more systemized though. It's a little bit more difficult, to be completely honest, than Mojo. But after 2 months of us being in business, I mean, we hired callers. We hired actual callers.
So when you say it's harder though, what's harder?
About ZenCall? It's just a lot more systemized. So like, there's a lot more things, intricacies in the actual system. Like it's not like how Mojo you got like I can't remember, but it was like hot, medium, or cold, right?
That's just and you're referring to like the lead.
Yeah, the
you know what I'm
leads,
saying.
yeah.
So the lead, a cold lead might be somebody who's not ready to sell, and or they want retail pricing.
Exactly.
A warm lead is pre-foreclosure. They're considering it, but they're not ready.
Exactly.
A hot lead means I want to get rid of that shit today.
Exactly. And then in Mojo, you pretty much take those leads and put them like in another CRM, right? I don't know what you do, but I'm just saying like you take those and put them in another CRM, and then you follow up from that CRM. Well, in ZenCall, you follow up right then and there. Like everything is systemized. So like you put them in their hot, cold, whatever they are, then they go to a follow up. So like when you get on the dialer, now you're not even calling the people that's new. You hitting the follow ups.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? So and then you have to have like a headset for ZenCall. You can't call. It can't just be like on your regular phone or like with the AirPods in. You got to have a real deal headset. It's really for like big drawn out companies. It's really what it's for.
It's optimized.
It's optimized. It's hugely optimized. And so it was actually perfect for our system, the way that we was running things. Because then we ended up hiring 2 callers that was calling for us.
So when you're saying callers, you got people like just regular street people, or you got virtual assistants?
It was virtual assistants. It was a system. I can't remember what it was.
Where'd you get the virtual assistants from?
I can't. So the system that we use, the people that we bought it from, they were a virtual assistant company.
Got you.
Hired callers to come on.
So do you remember the name of the company?
I can't remember right now, and that's crazy that I can't remember.
It's all good. But
they were Virgin Island. They were the people were like retired people in the Virgin Islands. So they wasn't actually like people from overseas with accents and stuff like that. They actually was like they sounded like
you still
Americans.
Use them?
No, we don't.
Got
we
you.
don't use them no more. We moved on since then.
Got you. But real quick, let me go back. So how did you train them, or did they come train? Was it a real estate company from the Virgin Islands that had real estate VAs for you guys?
Exactly. So that's exactly what they trained them.
Got you. So
they were supposed to be training them.
I understand.
And so that's kind of where our separation came, is because some of the people, you can listen to their phone calls. So us being businessmen, we spending our money on this. We actually listen to them every week. And then we having a meeting with them too every week. So we saying, hey, we think you saying this wrong on the phone, because we had done it. And that's what I say to people in real estate. Like when you get in, whether it's wholesaling, whatever, when you're out here reaching out to these leads and stuff, like do it yourself first. Even if you hate it, do it yourself for a little bit. So you know when bullshit is bullshit. You know what I mean? Because when we hearing them on the phone, we didn't tell him to say this. Like we never told him to respond like that. Or he sound lazy on the phone. Like he don't even sound like he's enthusiastic. Ain't nobody gonna sell to him. So we had these meetings with them, but we can listen to your phone calls. That was one part of the system that I like. And on ZenCall, you can listen to them as well. But what happened was, since we had ZenCall, we ended up finding out that like some of the conversations was deleted from the recordings that we was getting from the company. So we like, why they deleting them? Something up. Like, you know what I mean? So we ended up finding out that like pretty much that like this dude was just chilling on the phone. The dude was actually deleting it. He found a way to delete them and stuff like that. So we ended up moving on past them though. And so that was like 4 months into us. But
how much money wasted?
We spent about $1,500 a month for those callers a piece.
Wow. Any deals come through during that time?
A lot. Yeah.
So it had its pros and cons, even though they was bullshit.
Exactly. So we was probably doing like at least like 20,000 a month, like at that time.
Gotcha.
And then we actually got some big deals where we did like 30 and like
right. So you're not dismissing it. You're just saying make sure you do your due diligence. You do the work up front. Therefore, you understand what the work is supposed to look like.
Exactly.
Therefore, you can monitor it and understand what you're monitoring for.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's the only reason why I'm saying that, because at some point you gotta build your business. You can't be in it.
Understood. Nah, got you. Great tip. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that it was still a legit source to get deals for the people. All right.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like right after that, like I said, we jumped back on the phones and we was doing it ourselves. But you always gonna get for yourself. You're gonna get 100%. When you hire a VA, that's just how it goes. When you yourself, if you're calling on the phone, you're getting 100% of what you can do. If you get a VA from the Philippines or overseas somewhere that has an accent or something like that, not to go against people with accents, but a lot of these like Midwestern cities, Southern cities, they get on the phone with somebody with an accent, they hang right up. So you're gonna get about 50% of what you can do on the phone. And then if you hire an American, you can train them up and you can really train them to be you, and you probably gonna get about 80% of what you would do, right? Now, does that make sense in your business? That's all it really boils down to. So for us, it definitely did.
Gotcha.
And then, so what we did was we started to hop back on the phones. We made some nice little profits while we was on the phones and stuff. We bought into a CRM that provided callers as well.
What CRM is that, bro?
What CRM was that?
Don't be that. Don't be like that, bro. Digging that
because
bank.
they changed the name. I want to say it was. That's crazy. I can't remember that right now, but it was. I think it's called REI Invest Now or something like that. But I can't remember what it was called. It was one of the bigger guys that like in the real estate space, podcast space, stuff like that. And they was actually pulling a list that was kind of like niche at the time. And I don't know, they had like, it was like, they call it like their secret list, right? So you don't even know what they're pulling, but we started cashing out on that list. I don't know. And it was exclusive. So it was only 2 people in the city that they allowed to get it in each city, right? And so we was one of them in Indianapolis, and we started booming off of that
sounds
list.
like they'd be limited.
Right.
You only got 50 states.
Yeah, but I mean, they was expensive though.
Gotcha.
But that's just for that list. They'll pull other lists for you.
Gotcha.
But just for that list, we got in, Omari got on the phone. We telling them like, hey, we need that list. Like, that's the list we want.
Gotcha.
And so they was like, y'all are actually the second people. The other person, they just stopped using that list. So you can use it now. And so we like, bet, let's do it. So we started booming off that list. Like, I mean, we getting great deals. We doing at least 25,000 a month at this point.
So how long are you and Omari at this point? How many deals have you guys done at that time?
In that whole year?
Yeah.
That year we did like maybe 40, 50 deals.
How much money do you think you made over that year in revenue?
We made like 375,000
in a year.
I know because I went back on the taxes. I had to,
He said, "I got the receipts.
Exactly,
I got the receipts."
Exactly.
Okay, got you.
We made about that year. We bought rental properties that year with some of those profits. We didn't take it and buy Louis and Gucci and all that stuff, which I like. But we like I said, we had values to start with. We wanted to build legacy. So with that first like 60,000 that we made, we literally never touched it. We bought a property with it, and we literally didn't put none of it in our pockets. Like, bought a property with it, did the Bird method, the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And we actually got our money back out of that. As soon as we got that back, we put it into a triplex. Yeah, I know y'all already heard this story, obviously. But that's kind of what we invested our bread into instead of like going out and splurging with the 60, splitting it and going. We probably paid ourselves out of the money we was making. We started, on the rest of the wholesale stuff, we was maybe paying ourselves like $5 a month off of it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And we was stacking up the rest. And then, at a certain point, we was like, we got to pay ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, it's time to pay ourselves. But we was putting all of this back into the business. So we was, like I said, we had these systems. They wasn't cheap. So we was probably paying like $3,000 a month to have this CRM system. We paying 2 callers on their system. They $1,500 each. You get what I'm saying?
So it has to work or it has to work.
So now operating costs are going up. You get what I'm saying? So we did a lot of deals in 2019.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So 40 deals in a year is extremely aggressive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We probably actually did closer to like 60 deals.
Right.
About 5 a month.
You say you don't do that anymore though, right?
We don't.
Why you don't do that anymore?
For us, it was always about building that legacy, like I said. So when you wholesaling, it's just fast money, right? And it's a lot of work. You show up every day, and you got to do this in order to make money, right? We noticed on the rental side, we started getting cash flow from our properties and stuff like that. So we like, first of the month come around, roll around, we still getting that rent, whether I go to work or not. You know what I mean? So like I know that's kind of from a smaller level, but like we
No,
like
it's not. It's from a huge level.
right. Okay.
And let me expand on it if I may.
Yeah.
Because yes, you're only getting $400, $300 in cash flow, but let's say you got 10 of them.
That's how we was thinking.
You know what I'm saying? You got 3,000 in cash flow. That still ain't really a lot of money though, right? But if each house was worth, you got some triplexes, so let's say each house is worth 200,000. You know what I'm saying? And you divide that by 27 and a half.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about tax deductions.
So you're going into taxes now.
You basically are getting tax deductions of $7,000 per home.
Yeah.
Times 10.
Yeah.
That means you don't pay taxes until you make over $70,000 that year.
Exactly.
So you really made 70 there.
Exactly.
On top of the cash flow, Indiana has appreciated, so you're getting appreciation.
And we're burned out of them, so.
Meaning you're getting cash when you refinance.
And we're only 75% into these deals, so if it's worth $200,000, we only into the deal with a loan for $150, say.
No doubt. No doubt.
You get what I'm saying? So.
And what people don't realize, people are so stuck in making capital to become a millionaire.
Right.
People don't know that equity is really how you get to become a millionaire quicker.
Exactly.
You know, so I think that's big. So when you downplay the rental, I think it's a big play. It's not a light play to really, you know, like play with. But let's talk about it though. You know what I'm saying? If I may.
Yeah, come on.
You getting 40 cribs. That could be 40 rentals for yourself.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm asking, why you leaving that on the table?
Why was we leaving it on the table?
Why are you? Or are you still calling and keeping them?
No, we still calling and keeping them. So
gotcha. So you just don't wholesale them. We just don't
wholesale them. Exactly.
Gotcha.
We just hold them now.
Gotcha.
Or we'll flip them and sell them on the market, make a little bit more money.
Gotcha. So now you're not fishing for everybody else. You're fishing for yourself.
Exactly. So one of those investors I was telling you about, on one of those deals, he like, man, y'all just made $30,000. Like, y'all took a lot of equity out of the deal. How y'all feel about if I invest my money with y'all?
Got you.
So he started being our private investor, which is somebody that comes in, might have a lump sum of cash. He's not a corporate company, like a hard money lender or something like that. He's a private investor, which means he's a high net worth guy that he want to make a good return on his money. And
what's a good return for most private lenders?
We give like 10%.
Okay.
On most of our stuff, but some, you know, it kind of depends on how you get in the game. Like at first, it was more of an equity split. You get what I'm saying? So so with him, we have an equity split on some of the rentals and stuff that we buying with him. But most of our investors, they come.
What's your equity
10%.
split? What equity split do you give him?
We'll bust it down 3 ways on some of those.
Gotcha. He provides the cash.
He provides the cash, everything. Pretty much, we just do everything else.
So you provide a sweat equity, he provides the cash, and you got a 3-way split.
Exactly. Which, you know, for that side of it, we buy our own as well. So for that side of it, it helps us build the equity and the cash flow a lot faster. He got goals that kind of align with ours as well. And now he's investing with us even on bigger stuff. You know what I mean? So, but our other private investors, we provide 10% returns normally. And I mean, I know people that's out here getting 6% private money and stuff now that they got like that credibility behind them. But yeah, so we ran into him. He gave us some, you know, funds. He started to see that we had stuff in place. And he like, man, we can really blow this up. So he gave us more money. You know what I mean? He trusted in us. He saw what we was doing was working. And so now, instead of us selling those wholesale deals, like I said, we keeping all that equity. So like the $10,000 that we would have made on the wholesale fee, that's in our equity on the back end, obviously. And we getting money back off the refis because we buying like that. So if we bought something for $100,000, something worth $100,000 when it's all finished and done, and we bought it for $50,000 and we put $10,000 in, that's $60,000 all in, right? Well, the bank came back. We got a bank that'll give us 75% of value cash out. So that means out of 100,000, they giving us back 75,000. So do the math, 75 minus 60, we getting back 15,000 to us. And then the refinance on the loan, as you know, it's tax free. So it's different than you making $15,000 on a wholesale because now you're getting capital gains. You get what I'm saying?
doubt,
Tax
no doubt.
against it. So
Now, something that I don't want the people to miss is that he said we build credit up with our lender.
oh yeah,
Therefore, he gave us more cash.
exactly.
You
Doubled
know,
it up, as a matter of fact.
There it is. So, that's something important that a lot of people don't consider when they want to use their own money.
Yeah.
Using other people's money to leverage is one thing, but then when you do right by it, you could expand your wallet by double and get more. Now, before I let you go, we was talking and you was saying you was in town. I was like, what's got you in town? And he was just like, yo, we got this big opportunity. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to blow the wig on it because it's not done. But you said that it was 46 acres?
Yeah, so close to 46 acres out here in Indianapolis that we can possibly purchase. We got a...
So I want to tie that back in. Somebody's going to lend you money for that.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say we got a group of investors, even that he brought, the investor that we was talking about, that he feel like we can raise enough money to purchase that, plus put 300 to 400 units on it, if possible.
Due to you doing good business by him.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's the power of real estate.
Wants to invest her funds with us on that same deal. Like, I mean, it gets better because you're doing good by people.
Gotcha. And now you're winning by the power of proximity. Man, hey, that was dope. That was a mouthful, bro.
Man,
hey, I enjoyed it, man. This is definitely some good information, man.
Appreciate you having me.
So, I see what you got going on. I mean, I think when Omar was here, you guys had about 33 properties.
Yep.
What's that number at right now?
46.
46. Yep. Okay. That was about 3-4 months ago. So y'all moving. Okay.
Yep.
What's the ultimate goal for you guys?
Two things. Building that legacy. So if my parents died when I was 25, I would have came into nothing. Absolutely nothing. No life insurance, no nothing. So building that legacy for our people. Obviously, Omari don't got kids and stuff, but for me, I want my kids to be able to. I was around kids that was able to come into stuff when I was in high school. Like their parents left from, 4 rental properties or whatever. It's like, dang, where is that at in our circles? I don't know nobody that in my family that was left something like that. You know what I mean? So I think for us, it's building that legacy. When it comes to that, so. We want to get more and more units. We looking to buy Indianapolis damn near.
Give me a number on that, man. Let's just say 3 years from now, how many units you want?
At least 1,000. I'm going big on it.
1,000 cash flowing 300. That's crazy. That's crazy dough, bro.
That's where I'm trying to be. That's where I need to be. As a matter of fact,
I love it.
The other side of that is. Being in our communities, because when I was growing up, all I saw was the streets or sports. Never was really in the neighborhood playing basketball and saw, dude walk by with his Rolls Royce, and I'm like, what he do? He in real estate. What's real estate? What do you mean he's in real estate?
Right.
I never had that. So we want to be touchable, in the community, doing stuff, and that's one, main reason why I'm coming back to the city too, is to be more around people, teaching financial literacy, stuff like that we got. I don't know everything, but I know I got some stuff that people can learn from and put to action, and I might affect the next young dude that want to come in and get into this business and build a legacy, and they can see it. You know what I mean? He ain't lame. You know what I mean? A lot of people when we was growing up, they looked at it like that, he lame, that's a nerd or whatever. You can dress down, you can be, like I said, I'm in jeans, stuff. I ain't in a suit. I don't never wear suits. You know what I mean? Sometimes I do. I clean up, whatever, but you can look like this and still be out here making big moves. Exactly.
Yeah. No doubt. Got you, man. That's dope, man. Again, man, I appreciate you, brother. Nah, no doubt. No, it was a dope interview, man. So, man, tell a friend, man, to tap into the First Generation Wealth Builders podcast, man. This is why we do it. We learn from a lot of your mistakes, and you know, and as you say, we're trying to pave it forward.
Most definitely.
So make sure to tell a friend to tap in, man. Subscribe, share it, and I'll see y'all on the other side.